Okay, you good to go, Roy? Hello, and welcome to What We Learned This Week, where we talk about what we learned this week. My name is Ryan Harp. I'm a film and media studies major.
Hi, I'm Selah Watkins, and I'm a history and government major.
Hi, I'm Pamela Eddy. I'm the Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs and Development and a faculty member in the School of Education.
How's that? That was perfect. So, what did we learn this week?
I'm starting. Okay. I learned a couple interesting things. The less important one, I suppose, is that apparently we can just go into the alumni house and chill there. I didn't know that you could just go in there. I thought it was like invite-only kind of space, but it's not.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's very fancy in there. But the other thing that I learned that's more interesting was during an oral history that I was indexing for the local Black Histories project, and I learned about this room for room policy that happened during when they were displacing people out of Williamsburg, and I knew about the eminent domain and the different ways that they were displacing people. So this was new that I learned, that when they were moving people out, part of that was that they would build people who were displaced a house that was of equal value, and they would do it based on the amount of rooms in the house. But sometimes they wouldn't. A lot of the time they would not do it properly, so they would gyp people out of the full value of their house, and that was really interesting.
Yeah. I is that an American Studies class, or is that just
No, that's with the local Black Histories project.
Okay, so that's an internship or...
Yeah. A research thing.
I worked for them. I don't know if I've mentioned that.
Yeah.
I'm taking a 1 credit American Studies class called Digital Identity right now. And it's kind of interesting because it's all about issues related to social media and online things. And one of the topics we discussed last week was if there's a YouTube video or something that's of you or of someone in your family that you don't want on the site that keeps getting reposted by people, just how hard it is to get that taken down, and how there's almost no legal recourse to actually get that removed. And I don't know, it was upsetting to learn about, but it was also kind of revealing just how much power companies like that have, and how hard it is to actually make a change with how they're doing things. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting thing I learned about.
So my learning might be a little different than what you're discussing. So it'll be interesting to think of how we're going to put the thread between all of them. I've been doing phone calls with my counterparts across the country to see what's going on in other campuses to support faculty. So I've been thinking this week a lot about faculty learning. What's supporting them as they're trying to think of new ways and strategies for the classroom and or their research and engagement. And as we're thinking of still coming out of the pandemic, what's going to excite people? Not having to say, you have to do this. Instead saying, here's something new you could learn. And a big part of the conversations has been around AI. So in what ways is AI used in the classroom, and how do students understand what is allowable and how that varies across disciplines? So maybe part of the connecting point is about ownership of information and how that's used. It's intriguing, the idea of the YouTube one, and then also the ways in which information is being used to not be as transparent when you're trying to make a move like using eminent domain. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we tie it all together? I can see a connection between ours, and I think I can see something that ties it all together, because like with ours it's like institutions,
The policies.
and how they wield power, and whether or not there's justice, you know.
Right.
Like if you have a something bad about your family member that's being posted that legally shouldn't be posted, but there's actually no recourse or way to get around that. It's sort of similar to how, like, you know, the government is misrepresenting how much your house is worth or something like that.
But there's nothing you can do as a citizen.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you're sort of like on the institutional end of it, where you're informing people on how things should be run. And I don't know, I think there's a connection.
Well, I could see thinking about it too in terms of what faculty do for work. There's institutional obligations and responsibilities that faculty have, and certainly teaching is a big aspect of that. And so how do we think then about the way policies can support work, and how are policies thwarting the kind of things? And it strikes me that part of this is also a element of individual rights. So where are some of the individual rights within the larger system? And then how do you change the system? So when I do a lot of work on policy, and so when I look at policy, my first thought is how is this helping us improve the way we're doing things? And if it seems like a really silly policy, then how do we change it? Because there are mechanisms in place often to change policy. And in the cases you're describing, it's ways policy has been used in not as equitable way, or in a way that is protecting actually the individuals in that. I could see a little nexus in that part of it.
I think that was great. Roy, what do you think?
I thought it was good. Yeah, you want to just kind of close out?
Okay.
You want to just say?
This is what we learned this week? Yeah.
Wait 1 second.
Okay. I'll say it.
I love Roy.
Is the camera on me?
It is.
This has been what we learned this week. We'll see you next week. How's that?